Hello there, kia ora. Do you know what sounds like a really dumb reason to run for mayor of a place that you have a family holiday home in but don't live in? Politics. Well, that was the reason one mayoral candidate actually gave to a group of Voices for Freedom members on one of their communication channels before working his way to aid with one of the most elaborate networks of disinformation linked lobby groups in the country. And it all started in Kapiti. The area, though, is fascinating. It's considered by some to be the northernmost point of the Wellington region. It's the birthplace of Sir Peter Jackson, who used Kapiti Island as an inspiration for Skull Island in his version of King Kong. It's also an area trying to deal with the impacts of climate change, and that plan to deal with it has been part of the catalyst for Voices for Freedom linked candidates to get involved. It's why Kapiti Coast appeared prominently in disinformation propaganda network Reality Check Radio's recent Managed Out movie, presented by an organisation and supporters as a response to climate change alarmism from a media outlet whose hosts deny the existence of man-made impacts on the climate, and platform literal white supremacists, and those connections, well, they should be massive red flags for anyone. Out of that alarmism came a group called CALM, an acronym for Calm Alarmist Law Madness. This group follows a number of people and organisations linked with disinformation, like We Love Kapiti, Concerned Ratepayers Canterbury, Lydia Glidden, Selwyn mayoral candidate, and Concerned Ratepayers Wellington Region. And their supporters have been described by Bede Larissy as not believing in climate change in an interview that he gave on the platform. And CALM, the Concerned Ratepayers Kapiti group, and We Love Kapiti. Well, these are groups that all have a lot of crossover. There are organisers involved across groups, there's candidates running who are members across groups or endorsed by them. We've actually seen their content and messaging supported by outside disinformation-based media like City Watch NZ, and constant denials of connections from members. And that's also a major red flag for voters to be wary of. Now, quick disclaimer, these are my red flags, they might not be your red flags, so please do some digging and check out the candidates. See if they share your values or your vision for the place that you call home. None of that is going to matter if you don't vote. Your voting forms should be with you very soon if they haven't already arrived, and if they're not there by the end of this week, check out vote.nz to make sure your details are up to date or learn how you can cast a special vote. First off, running for mayor there we've got Kim Hobson, whose most vocal supporters on Facebook are also known to be in disinformation ecosystems, promoting anti-science groups like NZD SOS, and he has a very small online presence. One of his promises, though, is an unworkable rates cap and making kids do more homework. There's also a weird complaint within the system about an elected member because Hobson got it in his head that submissions had to be stamped as received for long-term plans, which has never been the case, but he thought that they needed to be stamped to be considered as submitted. Yeah, just a bit odd. Then you've got Dean Harris, running for the mayor and the Waikanae General Ward, the Wellington Regional Voices for Freedom coordinator. While he owns property in the region, he doesn't live there, and when asking for advice on how to downplay this in some of his Voices for Freedom communication channels, the reason he gave for running was politics. He's actually had a hand in setting up a number of AstroTurf groups acting like concerned ratepayers, including the Concerned Ratepayers of Kapiti and the concernedratepayers.nz page, which listed a number of other Voices for Freedom linked groups before it went offline in the middle of the election cycle. Dean gets upset when people point out his Voices for Freedom links, like this ad saying, "Come and meet Dean from Voices for Freedom." Or this article from the press which names him as a Voices for Freedom coordinator running for council on the Kapiti Coast. Or this one from the founder of pseudo-law group Challenging Council saying he met with Voices for Freedom's Dean Harris. Or this post from Voices for Freedom's local government AstroTurf Council Watch promoting his work prepping for a council run. And Dean has been known to get into people's faces when they bring it up. He's the person behind the We Love Kapiti campaign and uses that Facebook profile to comment on things, which then appears to be speaking for the whole group. He also signed the completely unworkable Taxpayers Union pledge, which would see the council unable to fund future development, leave its books open for cherry-picking and misrepresentation from other AstroTurf groups, and remove any impartiality from the audit and risk procedures. The only Kapiti mayoral candidate to do so. In the general ward, you've got Grant Bartlett. He's another wanting that unworkable rates cap. Also, there's this weird post that's him holding a phone reflected on a screen, in case you're wondering, seemingly shirtless. It is definitely a phone that he's holding. You have Joanne Welch, who's another one of the We Love Voices for Freedom group wanting an unworkable rates cap. You've got Brian Ruawai Hamilton, again, another We Love Voices for Freedom member. In the Otaki ward, you've got Brent Frogley. He's another We Love Voices for Freedom team member, the only one in the ward to agree to unworkable rates caps, allowing unqualified reckons on finances and removing audit and risk oversight in his TPU pledge. There's Phil Byrne, who wants to leave LGNZ, which is a hard-right dog whistle line, and is cagey on rates caps legislated by government and alludes to secretive plans to introduce Māori wards, which he sees as counter to democracy. Then you've got Martin Frauenstein. Stein? There's a comedy movie bit in that. He's another one of the We Love Voices for Freedom members, another who signed the Taxpayers Union pledge that would do irreparable damage to councils. He thinks writing a post on Facebook would somehow contravene the terms and conditions he agreed to as a Facebook user, and surprisingly repeating that action several times still doesn't change how terms and condition agreements work. He's shared false history conspiracies, anti-trans content, blamed the rainbow community for ruining society, and supported Christo Nationalist Party New Conservatives. In Parapara Umu, you've got Chris Harwood, yet another We Love Voices for Freedom candidate, describing them as like-minded people, and she was one of the OG Concerned Ratepayers Kapiti members, that AstroTurf group set up by Dean Harris. Interestingly though, she didn't sign the TPU pledge. You've also got David Freeman, who is keen on opening the books to unqualified reckons and opposing unelected appointees on committees like Audit and Risk, according to the pledge that he signed for TPU. There's Glenn Cooper. He's actually kind of an interesting one. He's being supported by the Concerned Ratepayers Kapiti group and made overtures about leaving LGNZ, which is the hard right dog whistle phrase, and promoted CALM, that disinformation-aligned lobby group with their documentary on the flood zones. You've also got Bernie Randall, who signed all three of TPU's pledges, and his previous efforts around council tables have been promoted by hard-right political think tank, the New Zealand Centre for Political Research. You've got Ewan Murrell, who's also signed the Taxpayers Union pledge to crap on councils. And then you go into the community boards, which I'm actually going to go a little quick fire on. On the Otaki Community Board, there's Cheryl Moody running. Not only is she a fan of the current wealthy and sorted Prime Minister who spent $44,000 to take a helicopter up a mountain for a photo op, she's also posted racist comment targeting the tā moko on the party leaders of Te Pāti Māori. In the Waikene Board, you've got Tonchi Bigovic, who suggested a developer and cricketing legend spend 72 hours in Gaza to dilute his first world issues right in the forehead in an email that he sent from a council account. Running in the Parapara Umu Community Board, you've got Guy Burns running on a platform of there's too much Māori consultation and representation. Council has no place dealing in emissions reductions, who needs a museum, and declaring a climate emergency as a sham vote grab. You've also got Kathy Spears, who has shared TPU communist-style propaganda on RMA reform and Christo nationalist vilification of Dame Jacinda Ardern, as well as anti-trans content, including content involving one of the people responsible for amplifying that rhetoric that led to death threats and eventually the resignation of Green MP Benjamin Doyle. Then you've got Johnny Best. He donated to Voices for Freedom and spent time at the Wellington Parliamentary Occupation. Kapiti Coast has a whole bunch of amazing candidates running, probably more with experience as a civil servant than anywhere else that I've come across. These people have worked in iwi-led organisations, the creative sector, in Parliament with people who worked under both Bolger and Ardern, sports clubs, charity organisations, and so much more. Which means that voters are actually spoilt for choice with candidates who bring to the table experience around governance and a passion for their communities, instead of just being there because of quote-unquote politics or buried amid a web of disinformation and deception. Voting is done by postal ballot, with voting forms having already been sent out. Kapiti Coast District Council is using STV, so you need to rank your preferred candidates from 1 to however many you want, and the future of Māori wards is on the ballot here. You can find more information about your local elections on the Kapiti Coast District Council website, or you can visit my website, paultheotherone.com/LG25. Hey, thanks for checking out today's video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe so you get more updates as we go along. We deal with these guys for the rest of the year.